Hey, everybody, it's Pastor Russell. I hope you're doing well on this Monday. I'm going to be sharing some devotional thoughts here over the next little bit and wanted to just put this out here as a way for us to think about what it means to be a Christian, especially in this time of our life together. Part of the question for us as Christians right now is to think about what does it mean for us to be the church in this time when we're dealing with the coronavirus. And I think, in addition to turning to Scripture and the great tradition of the church, I want to lift up something that I read in a book a while back. It's a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And he talks about something called the Stockdale Paradox. And it's basically two things that you have to hold together at the same time. The first is that you confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be. And then at the same time, you always retain faith that you will prevail at the end, regardless of how difficult it is. So both of those get brought together into the Stockdale Paradox. Now, Admiral Jim Stockdale was a U.S. Navy veteran who was in a Vietnamese prisoner of war camp during the Vietnam War. He knew firsthand what it was like to live in the midst of a brutal, very difficult situation. And he didn't back down from that. He didn't have any sort of Pollyanna-ish vision of things being the Hilton or anything else or the Ritz-Carlton. He was in a Vietnamese POW camp. It was bad. And at the same time, he always held out hope, realistic hope. And that's what I think part of what we are called to do as Christians as well, too. We are to be rooted in the truth. We are always rooting our lives in the one that we call the truth, Jesus Christ. And therefore, we tell the truth about what's going on. This coronavirus thing is not fun to deal with right now. It has meant a lot of changes for us in a very quick amount of time. And we don't know how long those changes are going to be going on, or even if there are going to be more changes that come beyond that. So that's on one side. But then on the other side, we always live with hope as Christians. We remember that in our baptisms, Jesus has come to us and has said, "You are my child, and there is not anything in all of creation that can separate us from God's love. You are mine." And so no matter what happens to us, no matter how our lives change, we remember that Jesus has called us and claimed us. And so we hold both of those together. That's one way that we live as God's people. I think the other way that we live as God's people is that we remember the mission that God has called us to. Last year at Epiphany, we came up with this purpose statement. God calls us to grow in our relationship with God, connect with each other, and serve the world. That was a really awesome opportunity for us as a community to think about, why is it that we exist here? And the cool thing about that is that Epiphany is not just at 5220 Silas Creek Parkway. Yes, God is doing some great things here in this place, but God is calling us to grow, connect, and serve wherever we go. And so part of this time for us as a church as well, too, is to figure out how is it that we, in our different contexts, in our homes, wherever we may be, how is it that we can live in our relationship with God? How we can grow in that relationship, how we can connect with each other, and how we can serve the world. That is going to take some creativity. But the good news is that God is a creating God. The God who created the universe has given us the gift of creativity so that we can spread the good news of what God is up to in the world. So, take this time to be rooted in the Stockdale Paradox of telling the truth, but also having hope, and at the same time, remembering why it is that we exist as a church. what God's purpose is here for Epiphany. Thanks, and I'll see you in a couple days.